So I read somewhere and I felt that it's so true that when a man cheats on a woman and a woman finds out, like first thing that they would ask and wonder is, are you in love with this person? Whereas when the opposite happens and a man finds out about the wife cheating, the one thing that affects them the most is that my wife had sex with this person, with another person. Hi, I'm Sakshi.
I'm Ananya.
So today is a big day for us because we have our first ever guest and she is extremely special for us, me especially. So she's the one who is trending right now. You must have seen her in all possible podcasts, and today she's here with us. And she is none other than Tanya Puri, Lady Detectives India. And my connection with her is super special. You've seen her as that young detective who is all over the internet sharing all of these stories, but my connection with her is deep and personal, and we go back a long way. So just a small fact, I met her like 10 years ago and she sent the best ever, sweetest ever email to me because she wanted to be my bride. And she was. And I literally met her the first time at her wedding. And 9 years down the line, we are like really good friends. So today I want to share, we both together want to do something really special with her, which is something that you've not seen so far. So, Tanya, do you want to introduce yourself to all our viewers?
Hi, I'm Tanya, and I am a matrimonial detective. I have my head office in Delhi, and I'm very excited to be with the girls today and talk about a lot of things that we haven't spoken of yet.
Welcome.
Thank
I
you.
am so excited. When we initially thought we should have a podcast, a lot of my friends asked me, okay, but what's the purpose? Like, what is the direction of this? Why do you want to do this? Everyone thought it was a midlife crisis. But now that you're here, it suddenly feels like, no, it's not a midlife crisis. We're doing something unique and nice. And I just want always for it to feel like we're friends. I've gotten to know you through Sakshi, and I feel so lucky that you're in my life now. It's this thing about all us ordinary women
Yes.
that actually lead very extraordinary lives. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm excited. I love the conversations both of you have, and so it always like deep dives into things where which are not usually talked of. So I'm quite excited to talk about that today.
Lovely. And the thing is, we've heard some of the stories that you have put out, and often they're quite jaw dropping, and you take a minute and you stop. And of course, we always want to hear your stories, but today we want to hear something a little bit different. We don't necessarily want the juicy bits and the reveals and the sting operations.
Yeah.
We want you. We want the person behind all of them. We want to know what it's like for you to witness everything that unfolds. And we also want to know how you manage it all. Because when I watch some of that, I feel like you are in a very tough job. And we want to know a little bit about that. So, of course, there's the betrayal and the suspicion and the confirmation and the heartbreak.
Yeah.
And we want to know Tanya behind each one of those stages. Does that feel like something that you'd be okay with?
Yeah. I really want people to watch this and know that ultimately there is a human behind this, and while I'm of course professional at all points, and we have certain things which are standard in this profession in terms of the secrecy and how we work on it, but I feel that discussing the emotion behind it would at least make them understand that their feelings are also valid and normal, and it's not a big thing to feel like that in any emotion or in any situation.
I think you have a front row seat to the behind the scenes of all human relationships. You get to see people at their most vulnerable, at their most fragile, and funny thing is sometimes when I watch everything that you're saying, I relate at a different level because I feel like I get to see all of those bits as a therapist too. So I feel like it'll be interesting for us to talk about the bits I get to see
Yeah.
and the bits you get to see
Yeah.
and how they correlate a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, and that is why I'm so, so excited. Let's get started.
So, I personally think that you are a modern day expert on infidelity, and it's so difficult to talk about this topic
Yeah.
without talking about the larger system that we are a part of, what we expect from marriages, what we expect from relationships, and what we expect from one person over a lifetime, right? So, you've seen what happens when those expectations collide with reality. So, after everything that you have seen, do you still believe in monogamy?
Loaded.
Yeah, I do personally, I do. But I also feel that I have stopped looking at it with a judgmental lens, because the problem itself with marriage per se is that we put all our expectations on that one person. And I feel that eventually infidelity is not always about the choice. I feel like it's about a lot of unmet needs sometimes. And I see that with my clients as well. In fact, a lot of women who would come to me do not feel emotionally safe with their partners. They feel that, their emotional needs aren't being met. For a lot of men, it's physical. And I say it, purely basis the cases that I get.
Of course.
So I feel that eventually people have to realize that, of course, when it happens between two people and people want proof and they get to know the truth, it's heartbreaking. Nobody wants to go that path. They don't come to me because they want their marriage to break. But if things do come like that, they do feel sad. But I feel that eventually when people sit with it and they sit with their partners, they realize that it was about a lot more. It wasn't just about wanting to cheat. So I feel that that's where we are at with a lot of people. Of course, there are people who would do it, just because they don't respect anything in the relationship. But for a lot of others, it's not just that, I feel.
I think the big question now is, do you think that infidelity is purely and strictly physical, or do you think it's more layered than that?
No, it is more layered than that. I don't think it is. I think the physical need also arises from, again, something that's not happening in your relationship. I think people start to feel like, roommates very early on. They do not connect with each other. They are not able to communicate the basics of how they're feeling, what somebody else made them feel, what their partner made them feel. So I think the gaps just keep widening, right? And that's when it happens. So I don't think it's purely physical.
Yeah, so the physical act might be the nail in the coffin, but
Yeah.
actually it took a lot of steps to
reach
get there.
Yeah, because imagine, I mean, it can't be easy. It's not the easy way out, I'm sure. It's just that, of course, again, I'm just talking about the people for whom it is not. I'm for others it may be, for some it may be. There are people who come to me, their partners are addicts. They want to just have sex with people, but they were never emotionally invested in the relationship. But if you have been at a point and then you reach that, it does come from a lot more than just physical needs, I feel.
Romantic love has been made to be a structure now that should contain everything.
Yeah.
It should contain, I don't know if it can contain all kinds of safety and all kinds of support and all kinds of communication.
Yeah.
Because when it does, a marriage also loses its spark in that process, right? Sakshi and I are both reading this book that we're going to talk about a lot more. It's called Mating in Captivity by Esther Perel, and she talks about how hyper closeness and doing everything together and being very, very emotionally available can often kill arousal entirely. So there's two sides to every coin. And I guess at every given point, you are subtracting attraction when you're choosing emotionality, and sometimes you're choosing emotionality and letting go of attraction, and both of those options are okay.
Yeah, because you started seeing the person as your safe space, and when that person, that come what may, he's going to be there or she's going to be there, I have this person to fall back on. perhaps, yes, everything gets replaced by that. You don't really feel attracted in that sense of the word to that person, because you know that you're each other's safety net. But I also feel that in a marriage, people need to stop putting their partners on a pedestal. You need to put
Absolutely.
them down, that you do not see as friends. Why do our relationships work so much, farther ahead? Because we know that it's all right, we understand so much more, but when it comes to our partners, the expectations are of course very high again, because over time that's what we've been taught, that's how we've grown up. And we've seen our parents, or we've seen some friends, whoever have had that relationships. I feel like that also needs to kind of, we need to let go of that as a person slightly, for our relationships to probably go farther ahead.
Yeah, partners are currently pulling the weight of an entire community. Everything lies on this one relationship. I found myself saying the other day in a session that if you're choosing someone to marry, that is 45 years. In 45 years, are you telling me that you will not have times where you feel like you've fallen out of love? Of course, that's going to happen. The entire idea of being in a marriage is to ask the question, is it worth it to fall back in love? Right? And then to kind of figure out what that means.
Yeah. I'm always going to have very controversial things that I talk about. But according to me, I don't think a human being in general is supposed to be monogamous. Like, we all are, like, all animal species for that matter. Like, I'm not saying like multiple partners, whatever, it's a life choice. And when you get into a marriage, that is a life choice. And of course, like, we've been taught, like, this has been drilled into us from since we were like kids, that oh my god, like, this is wrong, you can't do this. There's so many things that have just suddenly gone wrong in your marriage, and then you're just like thinking that oh god, like, I never thought that this would happen. Like, I've taken all the right steps. I've done everything that was expected from me. And then suddenly you find yourself at that point, and then you're like, is this right? Is this wrong? Like, society, this, that, ye, wo, sab kuch. So there's too much pressure. There's too much, like, it's just too much. In general, I don't think there is one person for one person. This is what I feel.
Yeah, of course. I mean, our opinions are shaped by our experiences or what we've felt, So there's never a right or a wrong, anyways. That's how I also see. I see even when people come to me, I don't very objectively put them in certain brackets and feel that, oh, this is the cheater, this is the innocent. I'm not talking about it like that. I feel like relationships are far more layered than probably talking about it objectively.
So you have to stick to the facts.
Yeah.
You can't add that layer of
Yeah.
who did what.
Yes.
For you, it's only this is what happened.
Yeah,
And then
but
you
I
make
have
the
to
meaning.
be unbiased towards it.
Yeah.
If I start to look at it with the bias, then I won't be able to give them the facts. Especially people who come to me, I can't give it to them because I'd always feel that maybe can you think from this perspective or anything of that sort.
Yeah.
So I have to separate that as personal and professional. For me, that's slightly clear with me now. Over the years.
And you have to
Yeah.
leave all the meaning making for them to do.
Yeah. I mean, actually, after our case is done and we've given them the outcomes, we are not attached to them anymore as clients. I have to let that part go. Of course, they may come to us for counseling and etc. That's a separate part, which I have a team for. But then I am not doing that myself. That's not my expertise. I don't want to get involved in their emotions beyond that point.
Like you just said that, you have to let go. But have you come across this one time when you've just kept going back, thinking about,
Yeah,
like
and
it must
there've been recent ones also where a lot of women would come to me and they know the truth. They just want the outcomes to validate what they already know, and they'll ask me things like, should I still stay with him? Is he good for me? I cannot objectively answer those things, but yes, when I'm by myself, I do in my head have this answer that yeah, maybe he's not as good for you, or but I cannot say that to them because I don't know my clients. I don't know them so personally and deeply, or their situations. I just have taken out certain outcomes, or a certain report about X subject, and I feel that I always say that I'm never going to say it's black and white, it's neutral. You decide whether that suits your life and your situation, and then go ahead with
That's
it.
exactly what I feel is so difficult about your job, because a person like me would just be blunt
Yeah.
and would just blurt things out and
Yeah.
be like, "Ki chhod de."
Yeah.
I can attest to that.
Yeah,
And I
would
am
just be
that
like,
person.
Yeah, I
in
know
person,
exactly.
In app personally, I am
Because
that.
yeah, I mean, I consider us very, very close, and I know that I've got like very, very blunt opinions about everything from you. So to see that, professionally you have to tone yourself down and to be a certain way, it's very difficult.
That it's important to know that it's not dishonest, you or me or you, we're not being dishonest to our clients, right, by not telling them. But to be able to get to that level, you really need to be that close. Today I know that if I share something, a blunt opinion with you, I know that you'll understand the context, or at least we'll have time to discuss that context with each other. With a client who doesn't know me personally, how do I expect them to really understand, And they are they're already in that mess. When they've come to me, they've dealt with it so long by themselves, and then they come to me. So I can't expect to understand that in 15 days time. You and I, or any of our friends, we've known each other for so long that I know that I can share that. So I feel that there's that difference, that has to be.
I think this happens when you're working with women. I feel like, of course, it's very basic to know that as a professional I have certain boundaries, right? Like she's working with brides, you're working with, I am assuming, a lot more women than men. That's just an assumption. And I also end up working with a lot of women. I, in fact, have done a lot of work with postpartum clients and marriages specifically. And I feel like in that common thread, when you're working with women, there is this sense of getting close very quickly. I think it happened to you and Sakshi as well.
Yeah.
And we have a way of asking for support from each other that makes it harder to have boundaries. Because I feel like there is this inherent need to, a lot of times my work requires values around helping, values around saving, and I often have to check myself. Is that my role right now? Is that what I need to do right now? Isn't this something that they can do for themselves? I'm just a medium. I'm just a vessel, right? And then I kind of have to keep telling myself that in order to
Separate yourself from
separate
that.
myself
Yeah.
and also create a new role for myself. This is not my friend, this is a client.
Yeah, you're right. You're so right. I don't think men have to deal with it that way, because my father is in the same line of work for over 45 years. He deals with his clients very differently. And, our principles are pretty much the same, because there are certain ethics in our profession, right? I wouldn't cross that line. But emotionally, how we deal with our clients, how we even deliver the outcomes, so different.
Can you tell us some of those differences between specifically your dad and you?
See, I think he's pretty objective. My lines don't blur that easy, but I do get a little subjective, and I'll give them instances, see. So if that situation happens with you, if, like, let's say I'm talking about a premarital case with them, I'll always give them, after marriage, if this happens and then he does this, then what are you going to do? I talk about it like that also because I am married, I am a woman.
Yes.
I've dealt with the typical things that marriage, So I have dealt with it, as a woman. My father is a wonderful man, but he is a man and a father. And my mother's taken care of so many things at home ever since we were kids that he didn't have to deal with that emotional side of things. So I always bring in the emotional side of it to explain to my clients that this is what you may have to deal with. Now the decision is yours. So I think that has happened. And I perhaps that's the biggest difference I would say between my father and I.
I don't know if we can do our jobs without empathy.
Yeah.
The definition of empathy is walking in someone else's shoes. I think it's so hard for us to separate that side of ourselves, and I think it's a big strength also.
It is.
I don't
It
think we
is.
need to hide it, and I don't think we need to keep it separate. I think it actually makes us different, but
Trust us more, right?
Yeah.
Like even with my father, if he's talking to the fathers and the mothers, not perhaps to the younger generation, because my clientele is more that, or some, of course, parents as well, but he deals with more of that. He always tells people, because as Punjabis, it's always that दूसरों की बेटी भी हमारी बेटी ही है, like, so he'll always say it like that.
Yeah.
And he means it. So if he's giving, his perspective may be different because he's a father, but he also is stepping into that role as a father also, that oh, if somebody wants some investigation for their girl, let me tell these points to them. So I think without empathy, none of us could really operate, and be successful, I feel. Yeah.
so now that we know a little bit about the values that come through with the work that you do, I actually want to break it up into all parts of the process, right? And let's go right to the beginning. When someone reaches out to you, they're probably, and more than the premarital cases, I think I'm talking about the in relationship ones, because Sakshi and I are both in relationships, so I guess that's just where it's coming from. But probably I can only imagine that someone is sitting in a really uncomfortable space in their heart with a lot of anticipation. About whether this thing, this hunch that they have, or this gut feeling is correct or not. And in that time, because I also sit with a lot of people with anxiety, the A in anxiety for me is anticipation, right? That fear, that worry of, is this happening? Often we call it a overthinking spiral when they're going down that rabbit hole. Do you feel like that is overthinking, anxiety? Do you feel like it is paranoia? Or do you feel like it's genuine worry, concern that should be explored?
Mostly with me, I feel when clients come to me, it is genuine worry because they have observed patterns for so long. They have found the loopholes. They've been feeling even their gut feeling. And paranoia is when, yes, maybe every small, like every missed call or every call that your husband or your wife hasn't taken is making you spiral out and think, oh, he may be cheating. Maybe I could term that, but when they come to me, it's not just one missed call, it's not just one missed message or a hug they didn't do when he was leaving home. I mean, there's so much that's gone behind that because the person has started to detach themselves. The person has inconsistent stories all the time, and physically they're feeling distant. The person's not feeling respected in the relationship anymore because there are certain things that they feel special when the partner does it for them. They're not feeling all of that. So it's over time that they now realize that, okay, there is a disconnect. I need to now go and explore why. So it's never just one thing. So with me, I think I wouldn't call it paranoia. I would say that they're observed patterns and they're not overthinking.
At what point do you think this is a sign or this is a symptom? This is a symptom for you to think a little bit more about what's happening in your relationship. What is something I can be watchful of?
Actually, a lot of people, I think when it comes to them, it's the phone. Not sharing a lot of things in your phone with your partner because that would have things that they wouldn't want to see. Or again, I think with women, it's emotional disconnect. They start to feel it. They start to feel it really soon, and
Those are things, right, that give me a lot of comfort. Like my partner and I, we have no phone passwords. Or even if we do, it's only we know each other's passwords.
Exactly. We know each other's passwords. I can pick up his phone anytime. He can pick up mine. All of that is like a very normal
Everything's
thing.
happening very in the open.
But I also don't see us checking things like
I
we
do.
don't- Huh?
I do.
I never check, and neither does he.
yeah, we've actually perhaps never done it. Maybe, I don't know, maybe once or twice, but initially, but we've not done it post that. And I don't think that that comes again from a point that people who do, they don't trust each other. As
I do
people,
it for time pass.
and you're curious sometimes. I feel that curiosity, like it's just you, as again, that pressure put on marriage कि अच्छा, if you're doing this तो तुम्हें शक हो रहा है, ज़रूरी नहीं है, like you can
I know that the phone thing can feel a little trivial, but at what point do you feel someone genuinely needs to hire a PI?
I think while phone and things like that may seem, trivial, but I feel that that's actually one of the first signs to, that gives away this aspect that, okay, somebody may not be as loyal, because what happens are patterns. When you have started observing patterns and it's been perhaps more than a month or two, even 15 days, but I feel that once something's become a pattern, that they're always taking their calls outside of some place, where you're maybe in their bathrooms all the time. Sometimes they're in the bathroom and the call comes, it's a different thing. They're always taking their phones with them everywhere they're going. They don't want to share the
Sneaking
same.
off.
Yeah, and they don't want to. I mean, they'd always say that, okay, we'd be back home by this time, but then they don't end up coming, because a lot of these patterns is what leads to it. So I would always suggest people to look for the patterns rather than one particular
A
thing.
one-off incident.
Yeah,
It's
because
the
when
repetitiveness
it
of
is,
it. Yeah.
it is, and I think women are intuitively very, very strong, and they always know. But also men, when they come to me, it's again this thing that they have repeatedly given chances to someone, but still the person is doing the same thing. So that's when they come to me, and I feel that's probably a sign for anybody, to come to me, that they have observed certain patterns and it's not sitting well with their life, and they do feel that something's wrong, because then it's my work or my job to get to the facts of it.
So when I was thinking about this episode, I was wondering that, G might never hire a PI, but back in the day, say 10 years ago, if my parents were to ever hire a PI and kind of ask them to find out what I'm up to, I feel like I have lied so much. What would you say would be some skeletons in my closet?
I would say that if you'd say that, I'm going out with X person, like, I'm out with friends and we're having a sleepover, but you're actually out with your partner, and, or you're like taking vacations and going there.
Yeah.
But the other part is also, I think a lot of parents now are insecure of are their children's social media activities.
Oh my God,
They people have a different persona online, and this is a difference 10 years ago to now, but this is one of the things that parents are so insecure of and also I feel like if you're talking about 10 years ago, then maybe our friend circle itself, like that's one thing that parents would want to know more of, or they would probably find clues, if they had to, because our friends would just hide anything and everything for us, like they'd stand the ground for us. So I feel that that's one aspect they need to focus on as well, who your child's friends actually are. You may not want to meet each and every, and we're all parents, right? So we
Yeah.
may not want to meet each and every friend of our child, but to have an idea, because the influence your friends could have on you is phenomenal, right? So I
Absolutely.
feel that that's one aspect also where parents could pick on. And why I say social media activity in general, though we don't delve into it as an investigation agency, but it's still again those patterns, right? Like there was a case that we got that I'll not get into deeply, but he was a teacher and he was actually online, putting thirst trap photos and, sleeping with women outside of that. I mean, meeting them on Instagram and then meeting them somewhere in these shady places and all of that. Just because, and for his parents, he was just a simple teacher, right? Who was just teaching kids and is so warm and affable. But then when we did investigation on him, all of that came out. So I feel that people have this innate need now to be something, out of their character on social media. So that's one thing where I think parents need to be pretty wary of.
Oh my God, if my parents hired
Yeah.
someone to look into me, they'd just be shocked,
Yeah.
shell shocked.
Yeah.
The kind
Maybe
of
Pandora's
things,
box.
to the extent of like your friends,
Yeah.
especially mine, complete ride or dies.
Yeah.
Lies have been orchestrated to the point of,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, mom and dad, now but con calls, like
Yeah.
I would call a friend first and then we'd be on that call and then
Yeah.
I'd call my parents and we're con calling
Yeah.
and then we're pretending to be together,
Yeah.
all while I am with someone
Somewhere
else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you think schemes like that still work in marriages now, or does everyone know the tricks and you know,
People
we've
are,
become spies ourselves.
yeah,
Like, there are
yeah,
always these memes and jokes about
yeah,
how give a woman a laptop and a phone
yeah.
and give her half an hour and she can find
Yeah.
all the
Yeah,
dirt
that
she
but that is
needs.
so true. I feel like a
You and
lot.
I do
Yeah,
that.
I
So
mean,
often.
yeah,
कहाँ है वो?
yeah.
It's
I
not in
mean,
his photos anymore.
any of these influencers or people who are popular, and they stop putting photos of their partners online, I would go back to the time when they started, and now they don't follow, their best friend now doesn't follow. So there's so much that people are hyper aware of, in fact, now, because I mean, Google and Instagram's teaching you things by itself, you know. Of course, our role is so different, and we go in depth of things where you cannot just by yourself. But yeah, now I think, and that's also where instincts now are, sharper, because you know that this is this pattern I observed. I know something's up. So people are more aware now, for sure. Not as gullible anymore, I feel like.
I also feel like in all of this there is some level of ignorance, or like you said, people are not gullible.
Yeah.
But I feel like they still are, because I feel like there's still many people who are just like, that blind faith.
Yeah, but it also arises out of the fact that they don't have some place else to go. Like, I'm
Yeah.
talking about it from that perspective also. Gullible, as in earlier, people didn't have the means to
Yeah,
go.
true, that's
Now
true.
they do,
Yeah.
but they still don't want to believe the truth, because either they have kids, either they have parents who can't take care of them, either they don't have jobs. I mean, a lot of it comes from women, especially, not being independent still.
Yeah.
And men also, they have this societal pressure. They do not want to be divorced. They do not want to come off as this person जिसने अपना घर तोड़ दिया, या he cheated. They want to keep things under wrap, you know. A lot of people, because again, social media, again, societal image.
Society, it's all about
Yeah,
society. It's
it
all
is.
about log kya
It
kahenge.
is.
That's what we've grown up with. That's
It
what we
is.
still.
Yeah.
That's still the society that
It
we are
is.
living in. I mean,
It
come
is.
on. I mean, I get to hear this all the time. What will people say?
Yeah.
ऐसे हो गया तो वैसे
Yeah.
हो गया. Think about your daughter. Think about this. Think about that. And I'm just like, at what point will you ever say, think about yourself?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that is a conversation people are not ready to have.
Yeah, they are not having
is.
it.
Yeah, it requires a lot of guts to reach that level of conversation where people say, I choose myself. People don't do that. They are not able to, because of a lot of reasons.
And that's the reason why people are secretly choosing themselves.
yeah, it is.
So, Tanya, tell me something. What surprised you most about humans when you started this work?
I think their ability to tolerate. I think that really surprised me. I feel that that's perhaps what differentiates, a lot of animals in the wild and like humans. I feel people have really this power. Again, factors may be varied why people are tolerating, but they do tolerate so much just for things to look okay. And that's one aspect that stays the same. If I've been doing this for the last 10 years, it has stayed the same. In fact, more and more people, the percentages increase now. You would think it has probably reduced. It hasn't. So I feel that complexity of human nature is what surprised me the most when I started versus now.
But then, marriage is the only relationship where, you're so stuck. Like, even if the communication is not happening,
Yeah.
you feel like sometimes you're in a situation when you just can't do anything about it,
Because your decisions
you're-
are shared, no?
yes, and you're
yeah.
in that marriage. Like, you can still just walk out of a friendship, for example. There are people who I know of who are now not in touch with their parents anymore, or they've had long gaps in their relationship with their parents, but or with a sibling for that matter.
Yeah.
So these are all close relationships
Yeah.
where there has been like a complete cut off or like a gap in the relationship. But in a marriage, if there is a gap, then it kind of always leads to a cutoff or a separation or a divorce.
It is not a selfless
It's
relationship as
really
well,
not.
you
It
know.
is really not a
It's
selfless.
set on expectations. The day you
Absolutely.
decide to get married to someone, you know, and they know that there are certain unsaid expectations and you have to kind of fulfill them. You may fulfill them out of love and respect, and it grows through the years, or you will do it out of disdain and this resentment. So either way, people are doing that. That's what marriage is for a lot of people.
Like, even when this communication is not happening, you find yourself living with it. You reach a certain point where you're just like, it's fine. That's how it's always going to be. So there's like acceptance, and there's just like, yeah, fine. So then now, you've investigated, you've done everything, and then you reach a point when there comes that moment that they find out, and sometimes it's in the most dramatic way possible. And I can imagine that, this confirmation changes people completely in an instant. It would. So before you give away all the information to that person who came looking, can you tell us a little about how ethics look in this field?
I think I'll start with when we are working on the case. So when we're working on the case, I feel one of the things that I always tell people is that we cannot be giving them, photos or videos of things that a person's doing throughout the day. That's not proof. Like, we'd only work for that. A lot of people come to us with this expectation that wherever this woman's going or wherever this man is going, just let us know, keep clicking pictures. That doesn't happen. It's only when they're seen with somebody else. If you want to find out about an affair, they're seen somewhere with somebody else. Body language is a big detector of, when they how they behave when they feel no one's looking. So that, is one of the facets, and then that's the proof we give. And when we're discussing it, again, the outcomes are given very objectively. They're not given in any dramatized way. They're not given in a way that it feels like, there's no floor beneath them. And it is given in a way, in a day-to-day manner, that this is what they did this day, this is what they did, this is when they met. For a lot of people, though, they want to catch their partner red-handed.
Yeah.
So
The sting operations.
Yeah, more than sting operations, also when, let's say, their partner is going to a hotel with somebody else, so they want to reach the hotel that time. That, of course, is dramatic.
Reminds me of that TV show we watched
Emotional atyachar.
Yeah. Oh my
And
God.
that happens. That
was
happens.
brutal.
Went viral for
Yeah.
Smooshing.
swooshing. But
Yeah, so that does happen. And, people, of course, at that time, to a third person, it's highly dramatized. It's highly full of emotions.
That's happened? Like, you've been a part of
Yeah,
this? Oh
yeah,
my God.
it has.
Scary.
Couple of times. And I feel that at that time, that person, for us, it's of course all drama. For us, as in a third person, for them, it's such high intensity emotions. They're feeling they're not able to understand what's going on with them. But yeah, like, it does happen. And at that point, my job again is to detach myself from the situation, not get overtly involved, because anyhow, people cannot know that we did the investigation. They cannot know that, we were a part of this. That's how we conceal our identity. That's how we help the clients also protect. Because if people get to know of us, then of course it's a threat to us. It's a threat to the person also, that how did you get to know who helped you?
so does
People
it
could
look
get.
and in that moment that the cheating partner
Yeah.
by themselves?
It could be, or that somebody could help them, but they don't know who, right? That's a very important part of when you talk of ethics, because I always tell all the clients who come to us, they're of course scared, or, thinking, what if our partner gets to know? But I'm like, no, that's the whole basis of this. We've been doing this for so long, so it has to be done correctly. My team also doesn't interact with my clients.
So your anonymity and your confidentiality is important.
It is. And also for the client, because my team or my staff has a separate office. They do not even speak to the clients, because if they get to know who they're working for, I trust my team, and I of course do that, but then I don't want to take that risk, so it's all the conversations are with me or my father, who's the chairman, for my company. So that's what we do.
When someone realizes that that they were right all along,
Yeah.
when they when they catch the cheating partner, what do you think happens to them? What do you see happen to them emotionally?
I think confusion. It cannot be like a switch that yesterday I love this person and today I hate him, or either
Exactly.
opposite as well.
Yeah.
But I feel it is confusion. It is a mess. They don't, I think, properly deal with their emotions up until maybe next 10 days, 1 month. There are people who've done this, their cases are done over. They come back to us after a month that it's not sitting well with us. Can you investigate further to know and to see whether more women are involved with my partner, or it was just this one person? Because for a lot of people, if it was just one, right, they feel more affected. If it's multiple, they feel we'll bring our partner back to us because they are perhaps only addicted to the physical part of it. If it's one, they feel that it's an emotional investment in that other person now, and now we cannot.
Wow, I
Yeah.
just never thought about it
Yeah.
that way.
So I read somewhere and I felt that it's so true that when a man cheats on a woman and a woman finds out, like basically the wife finds out, first thing that they would ask and wonder is, are you in love with this person? Whereas when the opposite happens and a man finds out wife cheating, the one thing that affects them the most is that my wife had sex with this person, with another person.
Yeah.
Like
That's
it's a
how
very
it's tuned.
different
Yeah.
thing altogether. Like
It
for
is.
a woman, it's like about the emotional aspect, the love aspect, and for a man, it's just about like Meri Bandi.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
That's why I said that for women it's emotional infidelity first and then physical. And for the men it's the other way around.
Do know that men, I've seen oftentimes build a daydream bubble where a lot of cheating happens and there's a lot of questions around, is that wrong? And I often say that I can't be, just like you, I can't be the decider of whether it's right or wrong. I think attraction after being monogamous to someone else is very natural.
It is. It
Having
is.
erotic thoughts about it
Yeah.
is very rational. I think I draw the line on acting on it.
Same. I was about to come. It's how you act on it is what will change it for me, maybe personally. But I don't dismiss somebody thinking about it as cheating.
Yeah.
That would be micromanagement of this relationship, which I don't think is fair. You cannot micromanage somebody's thoughts. And I do feel, again, acting on it or addiction to it, there have been cases where one of the person who came, he was addicted to watching porn and he would not do anything with his wife. So the wife did start to feel that why is this gap widening and what is happening? So maybe that, but yeah, thinking about it is not something I dismiss
The
of.
modern internet
Yeah.
has started declaring watching porn as cheating.
Oh, wow.
Would you, in your personal opinion, feel like watching porn is a form of cheating on your partner?
No, but I would perhaps draw the line at the frequency of it and how your relationship with your wife is or husband is, because of course anybody could watch it. It's not gender specific, but yeah, I maybe would probably think and understand the frequency of it and then decide.
I also wonder, what according to you is cheating only physical, or can there be other forms
Not
of
at
cheating
all.
as well? Like, does it always have to involve a second person? A third person. Does it
No.
always have to involve a third
No.
person?
No.
Or can it also be just like lies about this and that, like which the partner is completely unaware of?
What is this and that?
Yeah, this
Like-
and that, it depends. Yeah, what this and that is also. And I'd also say that having some disconnect with your partner is not cheating.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. It's not. white lies is not cheating. Sometimes just to avoid that situation that, now we'll sit and have this discussion on XYZ person, especially when it involves their family members or yours, I don't have to always voice out what I may think about a family member that it belongs to my husband's side, or he doesn't have to. So white lies.
So omission.
Yeah.
White lies. Yeah.
I've-
White lies too. I mean, I tell them a lot. Sorry, G. But like,
Yeah.
I can admit
Yeah.
that I like will not tell you entirely honestly what I've eaten for lunch, because a sweet treat might follow and we might be
Yeah.
tied to the hip in a health
Yeah.
routine. I don't want to ruin your
Yeah.
routine. If you're doing it well,
Yeah.
continue. But I cheated
Yeah.
with that strawberry
So
dipped
those
chocolate.
so those are really small, but I
very
think
small
but the
things.
minute it
Yeah.
comes to not sharing a part of your routine in a way
Exactly. That's
that
what I referred. That's what I was referring to. Like,
it starts
it's not
with that.
about-
That's the starting
Yeah.
point. I would
like
say
a
that.
habit, for example.
Yeah.
Which is completely, which the other person is completely unaware of. You know.
A
Yeah.
habit like
For example, this person is into drugs. For example. You know.
I
And-
would say that's the start or the tipping, like
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
I would say it because it's a big part of your life at the moment if you're consistently doing it and then you're not sharing that with your partner. I do feel that that means you don't trust them. So
Yeah.
where the trust, white lies are not about trust. White lies are about avoiding certain things here
Sticky
and there.
subjects.
You know,
Yeah.
like maybe I am a health fanatic and my partner wants to eat chole bhature and then a chocolate, blah blah. He would probably not share that one aspect. He'd say, "Oh, I only had one cheat meal. Maybe he had 3 in a day."
Yeah.
That's a different
That's a
part.
very normal,
and you
small
can
thing.
you can talk if I get to know about it, I can talk about it and I can be like, "No, don't do that. Let me know." And he'd be fine, When it comes to, again, consistently hiding something, such a big aspect about how you're also spending your money.
Money.
I don't
Exactly.
want to share every little penny, yes, but if thousands and lakhs of rupees from my account are going to places where my partner has no idea about, does not talk to me about it, or I don't talk to them, it's trust missing from the relationship. And yes, that can start off and lead to something, eventually.
So what do you think heartbreak really looks like after like witnessing this again and again and again over so many years?
Yeah.
Everything has like must have changed and evolved so much
Yeah.
in the way you see all of this happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if I say personally, heartbreak at 22 was a lot of tears.
Oh my god, it was crazy.
It was. It felt like the end of the world because, most importantly, you don't know who you are. So you think that my identity was attached to this person, I was this person, and now who will I be, because you don't have that person attached to you. But now, I mean, if at all, I think heartbreak would look different. It would look like I know what I want to do with my life. I'll be sad. I think people who run away from sadness or tears are avoiding feelings. I mean, it's such a normal part of feeling sad. But yes, it would now mean a lot more confidence, But when I see people, I see a lot of women, if I talk about them first, they're so sad because they can see that idea of family that they had break into pieces. They now think, how will my kids do without a father in this situation? Or what will we do? And for men also, I think if they have kids in the equation, it's a lot of sadness for them. They cannot see themselves being detached from their kids and they have to live with that. So I think heartbreak will always be sad. It cannot really be something positive. So yeah, I've
do you
witnessed so
see
much of that.
clarity and closure also giving some kind of relief?
So it again depends on what their mind was like while the case was going on. If they've convinced themselves that this person's not okay, he is cheating, and they already know in their heart, some people just have already detached. So when they get to know the result, they have a sigh of relief and they feel that, see, I knew what I was feeling. I'm not mad to have felt that, So for a lot of people, it's clarity. But of course, that doesn't mean the next steps are clear. But in their mind, It's clear that some people are very strongly, they come off and they say, I want to break this relationship off. I know this person's cheating on me. Please help me with the proof. They've spoken to lawyers already. They've took the families onto their side. That's a big progress from where people were years ago.
Of course. You know, heartbreak and grief is so difficult to sit with, especially when you're witnessing it on somebody else. I have often had to answer the question, you listen to people talk about grief and complaints and hard feelings all day. How do you cope with it? And I kind of want to ask you the same because tables have turned. How do you cope with it, Tanya? What is it like for you?
I think coping comes in the form of spending a lot more time with my husband and my son, because that's a part of my life that's that makes me feel somewhat at peace, and I am not so riled up in that case, because there's a lot that we do together as a family, but we also have different interests. But I think one of the things that I do when I'm with them is cut off from my work. So I think that helps, because when I started out, I would be a lot more impacted. I was much younger, right? I didn't know how to separate myself from it. I also cried for people. Now that doesn't happen, because while I see that reality, it's not my reality, and somewhat it feels that okay, my life's okay at the moment. So I think that's one part, and I love watching vlogs. I do that. I shut my mind off, and I'd probably do that. So it's very simple. It doesn't take a lot for me to detach from that, because I now see that strictly as work, and I feel that my personal life demands a lot out of me also, because of my son being autistic, and so he needs so much of me that I cannot be stressed around him. Not to normalize that, it's not that I will never be stressed, but I feel I don't bring my work stress back at home. I've tried and I've worked towards it, so I feel that that's how I
That's
do
so
it.
good to know because I
Yeah.
feel like there's a lot of second-hand grief from somebody
Yeah.
else's work,
It is.
lived experience in a
Right.
lot of jobs.
Right.
Yours, mine, and I'm sure so many others.
Yeah.
But to know that there is a time where you can separate
Yeah.
church and state, and there is
Right.
that gap,
Right.
and that it's not always going to feel like this. Because I agree, when I was an early career therapist, I think secondhand grief was so hard
It
to sit
is.
with.
Yeah.
My emotions were becoming my client's emotions,
Right.
and I was carrying it on me all the time. But
Right.
yes, as I have grown in the career, it has become like there is a layer of I am feeling empathy, I am feeling what you're
Yeah,
feeling, my
yeah.
heart goes out to you.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not necessarily coming home with
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
There is that distinction. It's almost like if I visualize, I live in an igloo of some kind, like a glass, an icy igloo, and the world lives outside. Like I have to create that mental bubble, and it is one of the techniques we also learn in order to kind of have that separation, because our own biases, our own emotions also then impact the work in so many ways. I remember it was my 28th birthday. Sakshi was there that night, and I was so wrapped up in this one story, I just couldn't detach. And as I was blowing out the candles and I was
Yeah.
cutting the cake
Yeah.
at 12 midnight, I started howling. I was sobbing and bawling, and
Yeah.
at that point there were so many people around me, but I could not explain
Yeah.
that I just saw someone I break today. I saw
Yeah.
their heart break into a million pieces.
Yeah.
And I have all of these loved ones here. I'm cutting my cake and I just can't shake it off.
Yeah.
So it happens.
It does. It
I'm
does.
sure there'll be a day in the future where it'll happen again.
Yeah, exactly.
But-
I mean, it's never a switch. It
Yeah.
can't be. Emotions are so complex. How can we just be like, I don't care?
Yeah.
We do.
We
but
do care.
But you come back home and you have responsibility towards
Yes.
your daughter, your husband,
Yeah.
yourself.
Yes.
So I feel that, for that aspect, we need to let go sometimes.
We need to let
Yeah.
go, and we need to also, it's a for me it feels like a coming of age thing as
Yeah,
well, that
true.
okay, and I emote as deeply, but that regulation has become easier. I think even with seeing Sakshi, with seeing the way the world is working now, there's more structure, more routine, more relying on physical health, working out. I've started practicing so much of that, so I think it all makes a lot of difference. Because I personally need like a silver lining. I am a die-hard romantic.
Aren't we all?
Sakshi started this conversation by saying she doesn't believe in monogamy anymore. As much as I've read about it and I study it deeply, I just can't help but believe in it. And so, for that romantic in me, does it always end in damage? Or is there repair? Is there coming back from really, really shitty experiences as well, and lies and betrayal? Can it be fixed?
Yeah, it can be. I genuinely believe so.
Even I do.
I feel that it's dependent on a lot of factors. One being, of course, your state of mind, which will take time, to come back to that idea of romanticism and all's well, if you've faced betrayal. But it depends on the person you're choosing to. It is always it so it's never 50-50 the contribution, right? But the person really helps you shape this idea of love. Like, it's solid because of your partner also. So I feel that if you find that, it can 100% come, because when we actually, let's say, if we have had multiple relationships and the first relationship we broke up from, it did feel like the end of the world and you could never fall in love with somebody. It did feel like that, but then you did, and you did in a way that you have a family with them, or you have, a child. Exactly.
Both had just one person.
Yeah.
I've only done it once.
Yeah, I mean,
हम एक बारी
Broken up with
जीते
only one
हैं.
person
Yeah.
and gotten back with them
Yeah,
repeatedly.
same.
yeah.
Repeatedly.
Yeah.
Yeah, just one person.
So, context, I have been with my childhood, like high school sweetheart. In
Yeah.
fact, even earlier than high school, middle school only.
Yeah. How sweet.
So, I started dating my now husband when I was 13.
Yeah.
And they say boys come and go,
Yeah.
but it hasn't been true for me. Friends have come and gone,
Yeah, yeah.
but my partner has remained a constant.
Yeah.
I have broken up with him, I have fought with him, trust has been broken,
Yeah.
trust has been built back,
Yeah.
and we've gone through all of that together.
Yeah.
So there hasn't ever been another person.
Yeah.
And you're right, it is entirely shaped by them. But I really like what you said, because when I asked the question, I think I was also coming from the place of repair with this one person. But
Yeah.
when you said, and you said something about how it really depends, and twice now you've talked about how falling
Yeah.
in love at 22 versus falling in love
Yeah.
at my age 32 is
Yeah.
very different.
Yeah.
You're also talking about a self repair or an internal
It
repair.
is,
Like
yeah.
Ananya at 22 is not Ananya at 32.
Yeah.
And Ananya in love with even that same person
Will
at
not be the same.
22
Yeah.
and now at 32 is not the same.
And you know what? Like, Sakshi at 32 versus Sakshi at 37 is a completely different ball game. So
Yeah.
it's not even a decade. It's like for now, like when you get older, it's like every 2-3 years or
You're
5
choosing
years.
new versions of yourself. You're choosing it for yourself
Yeah, you
also, because
are.
you are
You
benefiting
are.
from it. You're growing with it. So you do that a lot. But like when it comes to this partnership, like I feel, contrary to both of your experiences, I am someone who personally, I do not give so many chances to people.
Yeah.
I don't, as a person. So, which probably also, it's not that you gave chances or you gave chances, you evolved together, right? So, there were aspects which did not sit well with each other. You worked on it, which is a sign of strength for me. I never say that that's a sign of weakness. You've stuck with one person through so many years, to so many different versions of yourself. But maybe as a person, if I do feel that something's broken off, it is very difficult for me to get back to the same person, because I feel in my head that no, this person's not going to inherently change, if they have. And maybe that reflects slightly on the work that I do. If I do hear somebody say that, oh, he's done this, but I think I cannot break this marriage off. as a person, it does not
Sit
well with me. I don't judge, honestly, do not. But as a person,
No,
I feel that that's what
it
I've
makes
been like.
so much
Yeah.
sense.
It does make sense, but for me, I feel like somewhere I would just be like, I've spent so many years with this person,
Yeah.
um, 16 years now,
Yeah.
like to be honest, and it's if at all, and I always have this discussion with my husband, that if it ever happens, I don't think I'll break it off like that. I think I would want to understand the root cause of why it happened, and then I would like to work on it, and I would like to understand, because it's too bigger deal to just like let go. I wouldn't also take a back seat and just let it go.
Like, of
You want to
course.
work on
Work
it.
on it,
But I
yeah.
also now, maybe 10 years ago when I got married, I was just like, oh my god, if I ever find that this has happened, I'm going to cut off immediately and
Yeah.
I'm going to get a divorce,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
The whole narrative has changed for me now,
Yeah, it does.
because you really, when you are at an age and stage
Yeah.
of your life when you are changing as a person, but it's also not necessary that your partner changes with you
100%.
you
And I
know
feel like I said, it takes a lot of strength to go along. Relationships are work every day, right?
every day.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't mean that somebody has to cheat for me to
Yeah.
break the relationship off, and it wouldn't come off easy. In fact, it's for me, to do that with my friends is something I can give multiple chances to my friends again. I can just, if I don't want to let go of that relationship, I will keep with them.
Some kind of boundary where this is where I draw the line is super important. It might be different for each person. And again, no judgment on what that line is. For someone, it could be physical and emotional infidelity, and for someone else, it could be something entirely different. But having that line is important. I think you said what surprised you most about humans is how much they tolerate. I feel like it would be nice for us to decide how much we tolerate before rather than after, so that we have some clarity on, okay, these are things that we can kind of go through together, and this is normal, these things happen. But at this point, when I am being hurt over and over and over and over again, at this point I draw a line in the sand, and at this point I do something for myself. So when I ask that question about damage sometimes can also be about how much I am willing to work on the damage that's happened to me. So now that we've established that all relationships have their difficulties, a lot to overcome, we've also established that boundaries are important, and these phases are going to come. They're just in a varying degree of difficult. Knowing everything you know, what are some things you would say to young couples on what they should be picking in their partner? What are the right qualities? What is the right recipe?
I mean, there is no right recipe. I feel that I think the first and foremost thing that you need to look out in a partner is they do not disrespect the things that you stand for. Often, what happens between people is that they think differently. They have a different set of values and upbringing. So it's very easy to dismiss off the other person's growing up, especially, or how they think. But I feel that if you spend time with them and you understand that maybe I'm able to work my way through it, and he can also, or she can also, understand my way of working, then that's how you can go ahead together. I mean, you will never agree to the same things. I don't
Yeah.
think that even happens with our siblings, and we've been raised with by the same parents.
Absolutely.
So I feel that's one thing that people often, and people have these lists of finances and education, height and looks, and I feel that that's so secondary. People should be looking at the other person's lifestyle. They should be looking at their behavior patterns. They should be looking at family dynamics. You may be an elder daughter in a family, and you have this full freedom and right to decide things in the family. Then you end up going to a family where maybe you're the younger daughter-in-law. I'm being very specific because I've had cases like that. and then the power dynamic completely shifts. You're not the decision maker. There'll always be an elder brother and an elder sister-in-law, or the parents taking decisions. Understand that. Like, I think you even if you live or you don't live with your in-laws, it's so important for girls especially to understand, the dynamics within the family, who takes charge, who makes the decisions, what role your husband plays. And similarly for the men, it's important to see how their wife has been raised in her family. So I feel like these are aspects that people often miss now, thinking that doesn't matter, we have to live our own life. But it is. I feel it's really important. It affects the future of your relationship.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I think when I was choosing, I it's true that maybe I didn't think of all of these things. I guess the recipe for me was love and fresh air. It felt at that time that's all I needed, and I think sometimes that's okay to have that optimism and that hope, but now the 32-year-old Ananya definitely feels like there's a lot more layers. I feel mutual respect takes to people a long, long way. Even if you're going through betrayal and heartbreak, I feel like a certain level of mutual respect definitely gives you that stability to go through all of it. But I absolutely agree. I think family dynamics, your role, your place in the relationship, how much each of you are willing to stretch in order to make that room is also
It's more
important.
like being prepared for it. Nobody is telling you to maybe make a decision solely based on what you can observe in a few years. Until you're married, you're not married. There's
Yes.
so much of difference in living with the person and just being in a relationship with them as boyfriend girlfriend. I feel that because when other aspects enter the situation, like the parents and the extended families and the responsibilities, things may change. So maybe just for preparedness, just to know that what could be coming for you, I feel.
And doing what you do every day, Tanya, what has that changed about the way you love now? Has it made you more compassionate, more cynical? What version of you lives now?
I think cynicism cannot enter me. Like, I am just not that person.
Yeah.
And I think irritatingly so sometimes for my husband also, because he is a realist out and out, because of how he's grown up. And I feel that it's only made things like, it's got more emotions into me, but one that benefits me. I am 100% more empathetic. I would have probably been, this is not right or wrong, maybe a few years ago, but now I'm not that. And I also have very clear expectations out of my husband now. So, that's really changed, because earlier I think I would get frustrated easily. I would also pick on things very easily. But now I'm just very clear, and I say it when I'm expecting it, I say it.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. I loved our conversation today. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for
I
sharing
loved
with
being
us.
here.
It was very revealing. I also feel like I got to know you at a deeper
Yeah.
level today. It's been really, really fun. And I feel like while I am treading with a little bit more caution, not for myself necessarily, but I remember having a conversation with a friend the other day where she said to me, if I've been in love with this person for 2 or 3 years now, and her father basically started looking into her partner at a business family level, just asking around. So not really looking into things at a private detective level, but basic background check.
Yeah.
And her partner was actually very offended. He was like, we love each other. What's there to check? And maybe a few years ago, I would think, oh yeah, love and fresh air is all you need. But I
Yeah.
think now I have also normalized that it's okay.
Yeah.
You're living a lifetime together. You have many, many years ahead of you. It's
Yeah.
okay for everyone to feel reassured.
Yeah.
It's okay for it doesn't have to be offensive, and it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be disrespectful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite common, and I found my parents do it for me when I was freshly into my relationship with my husband. And at that point of time, it did feel a little offensive to both him and me, because we were so
So
young.
in love.
22, 23-year-olds, and it was just a little offensive at that point of time. But my mom always said it to me that, when reality sets in, then love is the first thing that you throw out of the window.
Yeah.
And I feel like truer words have not been said. said. It's really, really true. And I feel like these things are just, it's a requirement at this point of
Like,
time.
I feel that it doesn't have to come out of suspicion. That's where people take it wrong. It's just a form of self-preservation. So I think that's the key always. Don't rush into things. Don't think because people have said it's the time to get married, just go ahead and do it in 2 meetings, meet a little more,
A little more,
understand,
get to know each other a little bit more. Be
understand-
comfortable.
Yeah, understand their family.
for
I think,
me-
there'll always be happy endings.
There will always be.
Yeah.
It's just how you choose it.
Yeah.
For me, even have you watched that movie Queen?
Of
Yeah.
course, yeah.
That is a happy ending.
Yeah.
It is.
As long as you
100%.
can be on your journey and
Yeah.
find yourself, find comfort with or without
Yeah.
your partner,
Yeah.
for me, that's a happy ending.
Yeah, exactly. There's a very iconic dialogue in that movie that Dadi says. I don't even know, but like, आज तुझे लग रहा है कि सब कुछ खराब हो गया, कल तुझे लगेगा कोई नहीं, अब जो हुआ हो गया, right? Like,
Yeah.
I feel that that's what happens actually.
Yeah.
You just, there are always happy endings. Life is
Yeah,
that
life is
way.
such.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
wonderful.
bittersweet.
Bittersweet, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's only a matter of perspective, whether you want to focus.
It is.
My best friend says, where attention goes, energy flows.
Yeah.
So I guess it's always that shift
Yeah.
in perspective.
Yeah, it is. It is. That's such a sweet thought. Yeah.
So Tanya, thank you so much for being here with us and being vulnerable and being honest and just answering all of our questions.
Yeah.
And
1 million questions. I feel like we had
I-
so many questions.
It was the girl energy. I think it just like made me feel so comfortable. So yeah.
okay, I'm glad you felt that way because we
Yeah.
had a blast.
Me
I
too.
can say that for both of us
Yeah.
that this was amazing.
We truly believe that our relationships shape us. Today we had a really, really special friend. It's such a big day for the Banyan Girls. We had our first ever guest. And you'll be seeing so many more of our family members and our friends because they are the people that make us who we are.
If you liked what you saw today, please like, share and subscribe to our channel. We are the Banyan Girls.